You ever get a text that ends 28 years of sacrifice in 4 sentences? I did, standing in my kitchen with flour still on my hands. My daughter-in-law wrote it. Not Sophie, not my own granddaughter, Jody. We think it's best if you sit this one out. It's a small, elegant crowd, and we don't want tension. Sophie agrees. Hope you understand. Hope I understand. 3 days earlier, my monthly transfer went out, like it always does. Sophie's tuition, her final semester, 6 months before she walks the stage. I've been paying for her education in real time, the same week they decided I wasn't fit for the wedding. My money was still good enough to keep her enrolled. My presence wasn't good enough for the photos. That's the part that sat in my chest like a stone. Not the snub itself, the timing. They needed my check to clear before they needed me gone. I didn't cry. I didn't call anyone screaming. I opened my banking app and stared at that tuition transfer scheduled to go out again in 11 days. I didn't cancel it. Not yet. I just sat there, staring at that number, and for the first time in 3 years, I asked myself a question I'd never let myself ask before. Why am I still paying for a seat at a table I'm not welcome at? My name is Lydia Hunter. I'm 66. I've lived in this house in Millbrook, Ohio for 31 years, since before my son Daniel was born, since before I buried my husband in the cemetery 2 miles from here. I raised Daniel alone after that, worked the plant, then the school district, then took in bookkeeping on the side so there'd always be something extra. When Daniel married and Sophie came along, I did what grandmothers do. I showed up. Every recital, every fever, every Christmas morning at 6 a.m. because she couldn't wait to open her gifts. When Sophie got into a university 2 states away, and Daniel and Jody looked at the number on that financial aid letter and went pale, I didn't hesitate. I told them I'd cover what the loans didn't. Quietly. No announcement, no thanks required, just a transfer that went out every single month. Still going out now, while Sophie's wedding gets planned around a guest list I'm not on. I read that text 3 more times, waiting for it to say something different. It never did. Then I picked up my phone, opened the banking app, and stared at that tuition transfer scheduled to go out again in 11 days. I didn't cancel it. Not yet. I just sat there, staring at that number, and for the first time in 3 years, I asked myself a question I'd never let myself ask before. Why am I still paying for a seat at a table I'm not welcome at? 2 days after the text, my phone rang. Jody's name on the screen. I almost let it go to voicemail. I picked up instead. "Hi, Lydia." Bright, chipper, like she hadn't just carved me out of her daughter's wedding. "I wanted to make sure there's no hard feelings. You understand, right? Zachary's parents are very particular, and with everything going on with the venue, we just can't have any awkwardness." I sat down at my kitchen table. "What venue, Jody?" "Oh, the Ashford estate, just outside Cincinnati. Zachary's father knows the owner. It's stunning, Lydia, truly. Very exclusive." A pause. "We're actually finalizing the deposit this week. $65,000 for the whole package." $65,000 for a wedding I wasn't invited to. Meanwhile, my transfer for Sophie's tuition, the one keeping her enrolled, was $1,100 a month, money I never once mentioned needing back. "That's a lot," I said, keeping my voice even. "Well, Zachary's family is covering most of it. We just needed a small contribution from our side, and Daniel's handling that." She laughed, light and careless. "Anyway, I hope you're not upset. Sophie really does love you. She needs this day to be perfect. No tension. You understand." There it was again. You understand. Like understanding was something I owed her. "I have somewhere to be," I said, and hung up before she could answer. I sat at that table for a long time after. Then I did something I hadn't done in years. I called my lawyer, David, a man who'd handled my late husband's estate and every piece of paperwork since. I asked him one question. David, if I'm not under any signed agreement, no promissory note, nothing binding, can I stop the tuition payments whenever I want? There was a pause on his end. Then, legally, yes, Lydia. You've been paying as a gift, not an obligation. Nothing forces you to continue. Another pause. Why are you asking? I looked out my kitchen window at the maple tree Daniel used to climb as a boy. Because I just found out what I'm worth to this family, and it isn't what I thought. That night, I opened my laptop and pulled up Sophie's tuition portal, the account I'd linked years ago so I could pay directly. My cursor hovered over the autopay settings. I didn't click anything, not yet, but my hand was steady, and for the first time since that text came through, so was I. A week later, Daniel showed up at my door. My son. 34 years old, still looks like he did at 9 when he'd knock things over and not know how to say sorry. Mom, can we talk? I let him in. Made coffee out of habit, even though my hands weren't steady doing it. He sat at the same table Jody's phone call had come through on. I heard you called your lawyer. News travels fast. Mom, come on. Nobody's trying to hurt you. Jody thought what, Daniel? That I'd fund the wedding I'm not invited to and stay quiet about it? I set his coffee down harder than I meant to. You didn't call me when they wrote that text. You didn't call me for 2 days. Jody called to check if I had hard feelings, not to apologize, to manage me. He looked down at the table like he used to when he was in trouble as a kid. It's not that simple, Mom. Zachary's family is old money, Mom. They've got a certain image. Jody's worried about looking poor in front of people with more money than sense. Jody's worried about looking poor in front of people with more money than sense, I said. And you let her decide I'm the thing that makes this family look bad. Silence. Long enough that the coffee maker clicked off behind us. I need to ask you something, and I need the truth. Did you know I was still paying Sophie's tuition the same week you two decided to cut me out? He didn't answer right away. That was answer enough. Mom, we didn't connect those two things, I swear. You didn't have to connect them, Daniel. I connected them, sitting alone in this kitchen doing the math myself. I sat back down across from him. How much is the wedding costing? Total. He hesitated. $92,000. Zachary's parents are covering $70,000. We're covering the rest. $22,000 his family was scraping together for a single day. Nearly 20 times what I send for Sophie's education in an entire semester. And where's that $22,000 coming from, Daniel? You and Jody don't have that lying around. I balanced your books for years, remember? I know what plant supervisors make. He wouldn't look at me. We took a loan against the house, he said finally, quiet. Jody didn't want me to tell you. I felt something in my chest go very still. The house I helped them buy 15 years ago, co-signed so they could get the rate down. The house I'd babysat Sophie in 100 nights while they worked doubles to make the payments. You mortgaged your house for a wedding venue? I said slowly, while I'm still wiring money every month so your daughter can graduate? Mom, please, don't make this into something it's not. I'm not making it into anything, Daniel. I'm just finally seeing it clearly. I stood up, walked to the counter, and poured out my own untouched coffee. Tell Jody I said congratulations on the venue. He left 20 minutes later, and he didn't try to stop me from showing him out. That night, I sat down with my laptop again. This time, I didn't hesitate at the autopay screen. I opened the settings, found the tuition transfer, and clicked pause. A little box appeared. Are you sure you want to pause automatic payments? Next scheduled payment in 4 days. My finger hovered over confirm. Then my phone buzzed. A text. From Sophie this time. Not Jody, not Daniel. Sophie herself, for the first time in months. Grandma, Mom told me what happened. Please don't do anything. Please, I need this semester. I stared at that message for a long time, my finger still hovering over the button that would end everything I'd built for her. I didn't sleep that night. Sophie's text sat on my screen like a wound. Please don't do anything. I need this semester. 4 days until the next tuition payment. 4 days until Sophie's wedding invitations would finish going out to everyone except me. At 6 in the morning, I got in my car and drove 2 hours to Bloomington, to the campus itself. I hadn't planned it. I just needed to see her face when she said those words to me, not read them on a screen. I found her at a coffee shop near her dorm, the one she used to send me photos from freshman year, back when she still wanted me in her life out loud. She looked up and went pale. "Grandma, what are you doing here?" "I came to hear it from you," I said, sitting down across from her without asking. "Not a text. You. Look at me and tell me you need my money, but not my presence." She wouldn't meet my eyes at first. "It's not like that." "Then tell me what it's like, Sophie. Because from where I'm sitting, I'm good enough to keep the lights on at your school, but I'm not good enough to sit in a pew and watch you get married?" Her eyes filled up. "Zachary's family, they judge everything. The way people dress, where they're from, what they do for work. Mom didn't want you to feel what? Small? Because that text already did that job just fine." She was quiet for a long moment, turning her cup in her hands. "I didn't fight it hard enough," she finally said. "I should have. I know that. But, Grandma, please, I'm 3 months from graduating. If you stop the payments now, I might have to withdraw. I can't fix Mom's decision by losing my degree." There it was, the real math laid out plain. Not, "We love you and want you there," just, "You're still needed to give me what I give you, even if I won't stand up for you." I sat with that for a moment, feeling something in me finally settle instead of ache. "Sophie, I have loved you since the day you were born. I sat in this exact kind of coffee shop with you when you were 17 and scared about college applications. I have never once asked you to choose me over your parents." I leaned forward. "But you just told me without meaning to exactly where I rank. Behind the venue, behind Zachary's family's comfort, right above the electric bill. That's not fair." "No," I said quietly, standing up. "It isn't. None of this has been." I left her sitting there, coffee going cold, and drove home in silence. No radio, just the hum of the highway and every version of this conversation replaying in my head. That evening, back in my kitchen, I opened the laptop one more time. The pause screen was still there, waiting, the way it had been for 2 days. I thought about the mortgage Daniel took out. I thought about Jody's phone call, checking for hard feelings before checking on me. I thought about Sophie's text, asking me to keep paying while asking nothing else. I clicked confirm. The screen changed. Auto-pay paused. Next payment, none scheduled. I closed the laptop and sat in the quiet of my kitchen, waiting to feel guilty. I didn't. What I felt instead was my phone buzzing again almost immediately. Not a text this time, a call. Daniel's name on the screen, and behind it I could already hear Jody's voice, sharp and rising before I'd even answered. I answered the phone. Daniel's voice came through first, tight and fast. "Mom, the school just called Sophie. They said the payment didn't go through. That autopay's been paused. What is going on?" Behind him, I heard Jody, not even bothering to lower her voice. "Give me the phone, Daniel. Let me talk to her." Then Jody was on the line, sharp as glass. "Lydia, what do you think you're doing? Sophie has 3 months left. You can't just pull the rug out from under her because you're upset about a seating chart." "A seating chart?" I repeated. "Is that what we're calling being erased from my granddaughter's wedding?" "You're being dramatic. This is exactly the kind of tension we were trying to avoid." "No, Jody. This is the tension you created, and now you're upset that I stopped absorbing the cost of it." My voice didn't shake. I'd rehearsed this moment for 4 days without knowing it. "I have paid for something in this family every year for 3 decades. Diapers, braces, a mortgage rate, a college education. Nobody ever once asked if that was convenient for me. But the one time my presence was inconvenient for you, I got a text message and a phone call checking for hard feelings." Silence on the line. For once, Jody didn't have anything bright to say. "Here's what happens now," I said. "I'm not paying for a semester at a school I'm not welcome to see her graduate from. If Sophie wants to sit down with me, face to face, and actually talk about this, not send me a text asking me to keep quiet and keep paying, then we'll talk about her tuition. Until then, my money stays exactly where it is, in my account." "You'd really let her drop out over your pride?" "I'd really stop funding a life that has no room for me in it," I said. "There's a difference, and you know it." I hung up. Second time in 2 weeks, I'd been the one to end the call. 3 days later, Sophie showed up at my door. No warning, no Jody, no Daniel, just her. In the same coat she'd worn since high school, eyes red like she'd been crying the whole drive. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside and let her. She sat at my kitchen table, the same one Daniel had sat at, the same one Jody's phone call had echoed through. I talked to Zachary, told him if his family can't handle you being there, then I don't want their money for the venue either. We're moving it, smaller, my dad's backyard, actually, where I got married, where you and Grandpa used to have Sunday dinners. I didn't say anything right away. I just looked at her. Really looked. The way I used to when she was small enough to fit on my hip. "I should have said this the first day," she said, voice cracking. "You've never once made me feel like a burden. Not once, my whole life. And I let my mother make you feel like one because it was easier than fighting her. I'm sorry. I don't just want your money back in that account. I want you at my wedding, actually there, actually seen." I reached across the table and took her hand, the same hand I used to hold crossing streets, walking into first days of school, standing outside hospital rooms. "I never stopped loving you for a second, Sophie. But love doesn't mean I keep paying to stand outside a door you won't open for me. You understand that now?" She nodded, tears finally falling. "I understand." That night, after she left, I sat in my garden with a cup of tea, the porch light catching the last of the evening. I didn't turn my laptop back on. Not yet. There'd be time for that, for deciding what I wanted to give, and to whom, and on what terms, now that I finally understood my own worth wasn't measured by what I was willing to hand over in silence. For the first time in 30 years, I wasn't the invisible woman holding the family together from the shadows. I was just Lydia, and that, finally, was enough.